When Foolio's killers were sentenced, it caused a big reaction in the hip-hop world. Yungeen Ace spoke out about the case, and other rappers and public figures also shared their thoughts. The sentencing got a lot of attention because Foolio was a major figure in the music scene, and it added to the ongoing tension in Jacksonville's rap and street community.
Best friends.
No, y'all weren't best friends.
I like thugs, man.
Nah, y'all weren't best friends. Come on now.
After Foolio's killers were sentenced, several rappers spoke out publicly. A lot of focus was on Yungeen Ace because of his longtime feud with Foolio. Things heated up when Ace reportedly dropped a song shortly after Foolio's death with lyrics some people thought were aimed at the situation. But by July 22, 2024, Ace made a public statement saying he had told Foolio he loved him and wanted him to stay out of trouble. This change in tone sparked more conversation in the hip-hop world.
Yeah, crying and shit like damn. It's out there. Great.
In an interview with DJ Academics, Yungeen Ace said he cried when he found out about Foolio's death. He shared that he was lying in bed when he got the news and couldn't hold back his tears. Even though they had a well-known feud, Ace admitted there were still real emotions involved.
Best friends.
No, y'all weren't best friends.
I like thugs, man.
Nah, y'all weren't best friends. Come on now.
When asked more questions, Yungeen Ace made a surprising claim. He said he and Foolio were once best friends. The interviewer pushed back on that, but the emotion in Ace's voice suggested there was more to their relationship than people realized. Things got even deeper when Ace revealed their families were connected. His younger brother and Foolio's relatives were cousins. But the situation got even more serious when some of the suspects arrested for Foolio's murder were said to have ties to ATK, the gang linked to Ace. Knowing the heat was on him, Ace quickly posted on Instagram saying, "When you approach me, be ready to die or go to jail. That's my mentality." The post gained over 1.4 million views and sparked rumors that Ace might get caught up in the case. When directly asked if he had anything to do with Foolio's death, Ace strongly denied it. He said he was focused on his music and family, not violence. His emotional response showed how serious the accusations were, but also how badly he wanted to clear his name.
People feel like you were behind that.
I'm sure, but people feel like I'm behind lots, but I'm not. I'm not behind. I'm working. I'm grinding every day. I'm grinding. I got a family. I'm working. I'm grinding. I'm trying to be big.
One of the most revealing moments came when Yungeen Ace reflected on his feud with Foolio. He said their beef wasn't as deep as people thought, and that it was more about music and business than real hate. "People think me and him were really into it, but we weren't," he explained. This made many see their rivalry in a new light, not as pure hatred but possibly a tragic misunderstanding that spiraled out of control. The arrests of people connected to Ace clearly affected him. Even though he insisted he was innocent, being tied to the murder through gang connections put him in a tough spot. His emotional journey from controversy to grief to firm denial showed a young man struggling with the harsh realities of a life where loyalty, street reputation and survival are tightly linked. But while Ace was showing unexpected vulnerability, another powerful voice entered the conversation: Boosie Badazz. The veteran Louisiana rapper who's faced his own battles with violence and the law shared his thoughts on Foolio's death. His words didn't just offer opinion, they gave insight from someone who's lived it life. Boosie's take was so raw and real that his most powerful line became the title of his Vlog TV interview: "When you're at war, you have to protect the big dog." That one sentence summed up everything he knew about how street beefs work and why losing a key figure like Foolio hits harder than most people realize.
That's just how that goes, you know. It's back to back to back to back to back. That's just how that go. You know, you just gotta try to protect your big dog. Cause you know, they take the big dog, they cut the head off the rooster. You know what I'm saying? So that's what they gotta always try to protect your big dog, man.
Boosie's reaction was both smart and personal. He knew that in any street conflict, taking out the leader, the big dog, is often the quickest way to break down a group. He had seen this happen over and over again, both in the streets and the music world. What made Boosie's words even more powerful was that he actually knew Foolio. He described him as a good guy, respectful and thoughtful during the times they met. This wasn't just a distant opinion for Boosie. He had lost someone he truly respected. "Sad man, rest in peace," he said, and you could hear the real sadness in his voice. Boosie shared that they had planned to do a second interview but Foolio couldn't make it and had even called to apologize. That small moment showed how humble and professional Foolio really was. Boosie said he was real humble, real polite, none of that raw stuff, giving fans a new picture of Foolio that went beyond his tough image. Boosie also pointed out how risky Foolio's actions were before his death. He talked about how dangerous it was for Foolio to post about his birthday party on Instagram, even telling people to DM him for the address. With all the beef Foolio had, Boosie saw that as practically inviting trouble.
After our first interview, he ended up getting shot, like I think in the foot or something. And, you know, he was having this birthday party. He was like on Instagram announcing the party, like, yo, DM me for the address. You don't know who the hell you're DMing the address to when you're announcing publicly. Like, the way that came together really just kind of messed me up, because you would think that he would just be way more careful, way more paranoid, especially in Florida.
Boosie's frustration was clear as he talked about Foolio's lack of security awareness. Having survived attempts on his own life and dealing with legal battles, Boosie knew how careful you have to be when you have enemies. To someone with Boosie's experience, Foolio publicly posting his party location felt reckless, almost like asking for trouble. Boosie also talked about what happened right after Foolio's death. He noted that Yungeen Ace dropped a diss track just hours later and another one a few days after. Boosie wasn't judging, he was breaking it down. He understood that this kind of back and forth diss tracks, revenge, more violence was part of a toxic cycle that he had seen repeat over and over again. What hit the hardest was Boosie's memory of what could have been. In his first interview with Foolio, he said he had encouraged Foolio and Yungeen Ace to squash their beef. Both were young and talented with bright futures. Boosie said Foolio had agreed, even saying they could probably work things out someday. That made his death even more heartbreaking. Boosie's reaction wasn't just about street smarts, it was about real pain. His famous line, "Protect the big dog," wasn't just strategy. It was a warning, a message to young artists about how serious and deadly this life can get. As time went on, Boosie's interviews revealed even more. He talked about the need for accountability, the impact of broken homes, the lack of real guidance, and how the culture fails to protect it. So, he said his relationship with Foolio was always based on mutual respect. Foolio never brought drama to him, he was always humble and professional. That made losing him even harder for Boosie. This wasn't just another rapper lost to street beef. To Boosie, it was a young life that never had to end this way.
I understand that all of this happened before, I understand, but both of y'all still young, you have a future ahead of you.
One of the most powerful parts of Boosie's reaction was how preventable he believed Foolio's death was. During their first interview, Boosie actually tried to act as a peacemaker between Foolio and Yungeen Ace. He reminded them they were both young, talented, and had a future worth protecting. Surprisingly, Foolio was open to the idea. He had said it'll probably happen sooner or later. You never know what God got planned. Hearing that now made Foolio's death even more painful for Boosie. It was proof that peace was possible, that they weren't just lost to the streets. There was still hope, and the fact that it never happened felt like a failure not just of the two men but of the culture, the environment, and the system around them. Boosie's frustration with Foolio's lack of security was sharp. He couldn't understand how someone who had already survived multiple shootings could make such risky decisions. Publicly announcing his birthday party, inviting strangers on Instagram. No real security. Staying in Florida despite knowing the threats against him. Boosie, a man who had survived real street wars, ambushes, and arrests, it looked like a series of fatal mistakes, reckless moves that made it seem like Foolio didn't value his life. That's what hit Boosie the hardest. He wasn't just mourning Foolio, he was mourning all the young stars who never got the chance to grow up. Boosie was shocked when he heard Foolio's age, just 26. "I didn't think he was that young," he said. To him, Foolio was still a kid, still young enough to change, to leave the streets behind and to build something better. That wasted potential hurt the most. Foolio had talent, charisma, and ambition, but in a world where clout and violence go hand in hand, potential often gets left behind. Boosie also looked at the bigger picture. He knew Foolio's death wouldn't be the end, it might only be the beginning. He wasn't surprised when Yungeen Ace dropped a diss track right after Foolio's murder. He had seen this pattern too many times before. An artist dies, tributes and diss tracks flood the internet, and retaliation comes soon after, sometimes in the booth, other times in real life. Boosie wasn't angry. He was tired of watching talented young men get caught in the same deadly cycle. The streets don't give time to mourn. The culture doesn't let people heal. And in that endless loop, another young life is always waiting to be lost.
Then Yungeen Ace drops a diss track a couple hours later, and then drops another diss track a couple days later.
The reaction on social media was instant and intense. No Jumper highlighted the growing backlash, while Daily Loud took a stronger stance, posting screenshots from the video with the caption, "This is why the violence never ends." Even fans who had followed the long-running beef between Foolio and Spinabenz were shocked. Comments poured in. Some called the video disgusting, heartless, and a new low for hip-hop. Others warned that Spinabenz had crossed a line that couldn't be undone, both musically and on the streets. What made Spinabenz's response especially disturbing was how planned it was. This wasn't just an emotional Instagram story or a quick diss in a freestyle. It was a full music video, a carefully produced project meant to go viral. He turned Foolio's murder into a moment for clout. The track titled Foolio Dead dropped just days after Foolio was killed, with lyrics like "Foolio dead for real, it's not a joke." Spinabenz and Whoopi Choppa made their message loud and clear. The video only made things worse. It was filmed in locations that looked just like areas associated with Foolio, making it feel like a final disrespectful insult. Even though YouTube eventually demonetized the video, it had already gone viral. Surprisingly, even some of the biggest hip-hop pages that usually promote drill music refused to repost it. Critics said this wasn't just a diss, it was digital grave dancing. For many, Spinabenz's actions weren't just disrespectful, they were dangerous. It raised a bigger question: how far can this cycle of diss and retaliation go before it becomes completely irreversible? In Jacksonville, where Foolio's name carried both fear and respect, publicly celebrating his murder wasn't just for attention, it felt like a declaration of war. Spinabenz openly mocked Foolio being shot and killed while celebrating his 26th birthday in Tampa. The posts got hundreds of thousands of views. One Reddit comment summed up the frustration: "This isn't rap beef anymore, this is mental illness on display. Celebrating someone's death like it's a mixtape drop. This is why no one respects the Jacksonville scene anymore." Even die-hard fans of drill and trap music seemed to agree this went too far. The culture has always tolerated diss tracks, subliminals, and even real-life references, but openly celebrating a man's death, especially right after his funeral, felt like a grotesque turning point, one that left the entire scene shaken. Critics also warned that Spinabenz's actions might seriously backfire. Industry insiders noted that major record labels, already cautious about signing rappers from violent scenes, could see this as a major red flag. Some fans pointed out that Spinabenz might be setting himself up for retaliation, while others questioned whether the clout was even worth the potential consequences. Outside of the hip-hop world, the controversy sparked broader debates about the role of streaming platforms and social media. People asked, how does a video that mocks someone's murder stay up long enough to hit millions of views? And what responsibility do platforms like YouTube have in stopping this kind of toxic cycle? But Spinabenz didn't seem bothered. On Instagram Live just days later, he laughed off the backlash, saying, "You all soft. This street s ain't no area for the ops." That response only fueled the outrage, making it clear that for some artists the line between rap and real life had completely vanished. One comment captured the sadness many felt: "What hurts the most is that Foolio's response would have been fire. Now look what we're left with, trash. How you take someone who could rap and leave us with this?" It wasn't just about disrespect, it was about the artistic loss. Foolio was a talented voice, and to many, Spinabenz's music felt like a poor replacement. What made Spinabenz's celebration even more controversial was the deeper context. Foolio's murder involved 5 suspects reportedly tied to the ongoing gang war between 6 Block, Foolio's side, and 80K/1200, the side linked to Spinabenz. So this wasn't just a personal diss, it was seen as a public victory lap in a deadly turf war. Even Reddit users had seen this coming. Back in March 2022, some predicted that if a major figure from either side was killed, the other side would throw parties and make songs about it. They were right, but seeing it actually happen still shocked people. The legal side of this is just as serious. Prosecutors are seeking the death penalty for some of the suspects, and evidence shows the killers followed Foolio from Jacksonville to Tampa. Spinabenz's quick detailed celebration after the murder raised questions. Did he know what was coming? Did he have insider knowledge? Those suspicions are now being looked at more closely, adding even more heat to an already explosive case.